Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, during my opening statement, I referenced the strategic plan that the VA is undertaking that we're supposed to get in early 22. And the reason for that is because we need data. We typically need data before we legislate. Well, we do have data on another topic, and that's the damage that our children are facing by being kept out of school. We have nearly 2 full years of data that show that keeping kids out of classrooms has caused massive learning loss, a mental health epidemic, particularly among our youth, and stressful situations for millions of families. Recently, children in Chicago have been forced to endure virtual hearings after the Chicago Teachers Union refused to do their jobs and show up for in-person classes. House Republicans believe schools should be open and that our children come first. You know, in some municipalities, bowling alleys have opened before our schools. It is shameful. That's why, if we defeat the previous question, I will personally offer an amendment to the rule to immediately consider H.R. 6082, the Reopen Schools Act. Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert the text of my amendment into the record, along with any extraneous materials immediately prior to the vote on the previous question.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, with that, here to explain the amendment is the legislation's author, my good friend from Iowa, Ms. Hinson, and I yield her 3 minutes.
The gentleman from Iowa is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the gentleman from Pennsylvania for yielding. Madam Speaker, our amendment would ensure that students are no longer kept out of the classroom and forced to learn from behind a screen. It would ensure that parents are able to return to the workplace. It would help combat the ongoing youth mental health crisis spurred by school closures. My bill, the Reopen Schools Act, would condition federal COVID grants to schools on those schools actually being open and operating in the first place, which is what that money was intended to do. I am proud that my home state of Iowa, and I'm thankful to our Governor Kim Reynolds for ensuring that Iowa's students could go back to school. In Iowa, kids have been back in the classroom where they belong for over a year. They get to socialize with their peers, and they get hands-on learning help from their teachers. They get to run and jump at recess. They get to raise their hands to ask and answer questions instead of clicking a button from behind a screen. They get to write on whiteboards during their lessons. Unfortunately, this is not the case in the rest of the country. So many students are still trapped behind screens. And what about the students who don't have regular computer and broadband internet access? What about students in households without computers, or even households with only one computer where mom and dad are maybe trying to also use it for work? Virtual learning means we are leaving behind our most vulnerable students, our rural students, our students with additional learning challenges, and even kids who have every virtual advantage are struggling. Families are struggling, working parents are challenged like never before, and American kids are suffering and paying the price for it. As a mom, I've personally felt this pressure, and I know many of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle know what it's like to have kids trying to learn at home while you're trying to work at the same time. So this is not a partisan issue. This is about our kids. This is about supporting working families. Kids need to be in school. So I urge my colleagues to join me in defeating the previous question so we can reopen schools and prevent taxpayer dollars from keeping kids at home. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank the gentleman from Pennsylvania. I yield back.
Reserve.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania reserves. The gentleman from Colorado is recognized.
Thanks, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate the comments of Mr. Reschenthaler and Ms. Hinson about schools. But this, we're the Congress of the United States. This is not the Des Moines School Board or the Puxentani School Board, where they may have individual respective issues for their area. My wife is a teacher, as you are, Madam Speaker, and in Jefferson County, Colorado, the schools are open now. Is it a trouble? Are people getting sick? Is there a lot of pressure on teachers? You bet there is. But those schools are open. So I appreciate the comments of my friends about wanting to open the schools in Chicago or maybe wanting to open them someplace else, but they're open. And so I'm not exactly sure what they're railing against, other than maybe the school board of Chicago or the school board of Des Moines.